before we moved down here, I sent out a list of questions to neighbors, family, random people, and said, hey, like, what do you think, like, our city needs? Like, what is, like, one thing, like, your family is missing? And one of the common things was community. Mm-hmm. They said community and purpose. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, how can I speak to that? Like, speak to that felt need. And if you're in the business world, think, how can I market to that felt need, right? Like, I'm trying to sell them a car, but how do I get this car to speak to community and purpose, right? And so, like, I'm like, man, if we can find a way to speak to that, we know they need Jesus, but they might not think they need Jesus. They may just think they need community. Well, we can get them in community according to Jesus. Yeah. And so I think that's something we're going to lean on, you know. Ask me again in a year. I mean, it's like, just forget everything I said. But
it may totally change.
Yes,
Hey guys, welcome to the Troy Gramling Podcast. It is an honor, like I have said now for 3 seasons and 3 episodes. It is a true honor to get to hang out with you. Our goal is just to build a community. We want to be an encouragement. I believe you're special, created on purpose by God to do something of significance, and it's so easy to forget, isn't it? I mean, there's life and there's chores and there's work and there's complaints and there's all this stuff that happens, and it's easy sometimes to forget that life is bigger than that there is meaning, there is purpose, and that what you and I do matters. And so that's why we want to build a community. And the people that we talk about have insight. You know, it's been fun because we've talked to folks from all walks of life. One day we're going to talk to a professional wrestler. Then we will know we have arrived. But we have talked to military folks. We've talked to astronauts. We've talked to Daredevil. I mean, we just talked to all kinds of people. And professional athletes, and then just people like you and me that get up and run after what God's called them to do. Today, I've got some very special guests. Now, I'm just going to warn you, we are recording this on a Sunday afternoon after doing all of our services, including, can I be honest, maybe because somebody out there might have some great insight. We're doing a Spanish service that we're interpreting. Okay, I speak and then we have an interpreter because I feel like it's the sense, you know, I'm called to pastor here. I want to pastor these folks. And we were talking with a pastor in Orlando who started with 100 and now it's like their largest service. They got 1,000 or so folks who come. Well, we don't have 1,000 or so folks who are coming. I am slowly killing this thing. And so I tell you all that to say, if you have an idea, put it in the comments because we would
welcome all ideas,
right?
I'm
begging for help. Secondly, you know what? When you're tired, you say crazy things. So this may be it depends on how you look at it, best or worst podcast up to this point. I do have some special guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with my very special guest to my right.
Yes, well, I'm honored to be here. And yes, I am Steph Gramling, wife of Troy Gramling, not husband, wife.
Yes, yeah, wife. For how many years?
30, actually, and this month it'll be 36. July 15th, 36 years. That's a long time.
Yes, long time. Yeah. But it's been good, glorious years.
It's been awesome, yeah.
So, glad to have you along.
Thank you.
And then over here to my other left, we have, you guys introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jordan Headley, and this is my beautiful wife,
Kelsey Headley.
We've been married 3 years, right?
I think so.
Yes, 3 years. So we had to think of that.
I think we're on 3 now.
3 years. You got married
in
2 years. Where? How much? Huh?
They're not sure how long it's been.
It's been a whirlwind, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done a lot just those few years.
Yeah,
yes. We have.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you get married?
We got married twice. Yeah, So we're double married. And so
wanted to make sure it stuck.
We're gonna plan the third one. You guys can come to that. So.
I was gonna give her a chance to back out each time, but no. So just pastor friends of mine said, we're getting married in our 30s. So we did like a short engagement and a backyard wedding, literally it's like what you would expect in the middle of Arizona, backyard wedding, then everybody jumped in the pool. And then, so that was in April of 23. And then in November 23, we did like the big shindig. Like there in Arizona.
In Arizona too.
Right outside of Phoenix. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Goodyear, Arizona.
Wow. One was probably a little more expensive than the other one.
That's
It
what I
was.
heard.
You can ask my parents. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
And now you are down here in South Florida, at least for a little bit of time. And tell everybody what you're up to.
Yes, so we're down here in South Florida, kind of hanging around Potential here in Cooper City, learning everything I can, learning how we do things, why we do things, and that way we can go back and implement all that Potential is up in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, we have a property up there that was, I don't know how long ago goodness.
I don't remember what year.
Yeah,
it was.
I don't either.
Quite a few years.
But anyways, we have we launched a campus up there, and we moved locations 2 or 3 times. Now we have a school, and COVID kind of shut everything down. And while we have a few groups that meet there, we don't really have a church per se campus, and like we want to see happen. And in the coming days, you guys are going to make it happen.
Yes.
We're excited. It's going to be fun. We're honored, so thank you.
Yeah, no, we're excited. Our experience with campuses have been, it's been interesting because we've had some really, really successful ones. We haven't had any that you would say had it's all been based on the leader. We've had good leaders. We've had campuses with 1,000. We've had bad leaders. We've had campuses with less than 1,000. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, it's going to be exciting. I wanted to talk with you guys because you're like, it has been a whirlwind. So y'all been married 3 years. We've been married 36 years, and we've been doing ministry now for
over
a long time.
Yeah, long time, over 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years, and you guys have been going. How long were you guys in ministry before the I Do?
So, for me, it would have been, I'd been in ministry since I was 15. So my student pastor stepped out, and I don't know why, they handed the youth ministry to 2 high schoolers.
Wow.
Wow was something. And so, we've actually, she'd never been in ministry, correct? Until we got together. And so we were blessed in Arizona. I was in an executive level role. So, she was invited on all the exec team stuff, and she got her own room because obviously we couldn't stay together, unfortunately. But this is really our first full stint together.
Yeah.
Well, good.
It's gonna be something.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. So, all right. So 3 years of marriage. I think it's always cool to talk a little bit because I know there are folks that, first of all, are afraid of getting married. So, Steph, you can think about this too. Like, what's the benefit of being married, would you say? What would y'all say?
What is the benefit? You go? Are you going to go?
I don't know. I think it's really cool just to be with your best friend every day, and just the family that you get to make and the memories that you get to create is just really cool. Like, I don't really know what life was like before being married, to be honest. And it's been crazy, but it has been
marriage
so much
usually
fun.
is, right?
Yeah. And I think we packed in like what you should probably do within the first 5 years of marriage. We did it in one. So I think we are probably pros at this.
I wish.
But no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun just to create life with your best friend.
I mean, I would say this too, like you might like kind of chewing on marriage is, I think we're honestly better together, right?
Yeah.
Like you said something a few weeks ago about, and it's funny because you talked on relationships, like you said, you can build a house or put up a tent. And I think one is like, it's easier to have the tent kind of come and go. But, I think we make each other better. Life is more fun. And I feel like you truly have that support. Like you have somebody that has your back and has your back. We were watching a show and this guy had like done something stupid in this show and his wife stuck by him. I'm like, you wouldn't do that, would you? She's like, oh yeah, she's like, I'll go down with you. And I'm like, so yeah, I got somebody that's got my back. So that's good.
Yeah, that's, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can top either one of those answers. It's great. I think like Kelsey said, it's just doing life with your best friend and, that oneness. And then, I know for me, like, and also like Jordan said, that you're better together. And I think about, all the ways that I've been stretched and I've grown, as a result of the marriage. So I think, marriage is a great thing.
Yeah. Well, and commitment, in marriage you have commitment, which allows you to take some of those jumps of faith. I mean, because like you said, they've got your back because they've committed. They've said, I do. They didn't just say for now, or maybe, or, there's a real commitment, which I think allows you to take risk and try new things. Because you guys are now in South Florida, right? And kind of, like you said, learning the potential ethos, you might say. And then also at the same time, we're always raising resources, it takes lots of dollars to do things that matter. But you lived in Pensacola, you got married in Arizona. So how did you, as you sense this is what God wanted you to do, how'd you cast vision to your beloved about, okay, hey, let's go down to South Florida for, however long, a year or so, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And then how did that, because I'm sure, again, there are folks, a lot of times people just do stuff or it causes, resentment or, especially moving and knowing it's a short-term move and all of those kind of things.
Well, so originally when Pastor Tyler brought up the idea, hey, you may come down here temporarily, I was like, well, I might as well just say peace out. I thought she would dread that. And but we were down here and she loved it. But I think for us, and it's going to sound like maybe hyper spiritual and really cheesy, but I think we said, hey, what do we feel like is like God has for our life? Like, what are we going for? Like, not just family, but like career, that country accent's coming out, career-wise. It's the end of the day, remember, people. And so we're trying to figure out, like, hey, what is that for us? And if we said, hey, we feel like it's ministry, and then we're saying, okay, God, what is it that you put in front of us? And there were other opportunities. There were calls, but we were like, hey, what is it that like our heart kind of jumps at and we feel married to? And I think so a little bit of that was like, hey, this is what I feel like the door's opening up for us. What does God want us to step into? And it matches with what we feel like is kind of the values and calling for our family. And so how do we step into that? But when it came to taking that step to come down here, I really got to talk about Pastor Tyler. Like, I think he was a man of his word. Yeah. And so like there was a lot of trust, and there was a lot of generosity even with how you guys treated us, that were like, okay, like they don't have to do this. And so there was a lot of faith and trust building along the way. It was a long journey. And so when I said, hey, this is what we're going to do, I think she was really excited. Yeah. I think the moving back and forth is always stressful because, unpacking takes a year.
Yeah, I wish that we could have just left things there and just have two places. But, in
we
a
did
perfect
leave a lot
world.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I was like, hey, we think this is what God's calling us to do. Let's step into it. And I think, too, for us, we were like, hey, we needed to see that, like, there was some trust that could be earned quickly. And I think you guys, Pastor Tyler, Pastor Danny, everybody did that.
Good. And so, did you see this coming? How did you?
I think, like, as far as potential, is that what you're asking? I think we kind of were in a season where it was almost like maybe we just stopped looking. And ministry was always in the cards, and it was always on the table, and it was something that we talked about frequently, but we had talked to a couple other churches, and it was just there was always something that was missing. And so we were like, okay, maybe it's not our year. Maybe it's not our calling right now. Maybe it'll be on the table later. And then we met you guys, and we met Pastor Tyler, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. It was really like night and day. I can't really explain it better than that. It was really just like, you guys cared about our family. You guys cared about how we were doing as humans and where we were at in life. And you guys met us there instead of, just kind of running over us.
And I want to add something like why potential for us. So I didn't tell her much this, but we were driving a lot back and forth from Pensacola. From Gulf Breeze, Pensacola is the bridge, and you know, if anybody's listening in California, it reminds me of like the Southeast, the Bible Belt version of Point Loma and San Diego. Like, I don't know, it just makes me think of that. And like, I started this like weird, and you started churches, you know, like that weird burden for the city.
Yeah.
That's like, I swore I'd never be there, but now I'm here and God's given us this burden. And so my thought was, hey, I don't want to start anything, so why don't I just go work for a church? And then that way I can reach my city.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to churches and we're like, well, this will like get me in my feels a little bit. Like, we wouldn't bring our friends that don't know Jesus there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why would I be a part of something that I wouldn't take my neighbor, like Odell, who doesn't know, don't listen,
Yeah.
Odell, that doesn't know Jesus. Like, why would I want to bring him? I couldn't bring him here. And so for us, whenever we started realizing what Potential was doing and who Potential is, we're like, well, hey, we can bring our friends who don't know Jesus to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing for us. Like, if I can't bring someone that's far from God here, why? I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So that was what drew us to Potential.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
That's good.
Exciting. I know, you know, you were a long time ago, that we weren't going to move here because we're from the Arkansas, you know?
Yeah.
And, I'm always ready to go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think you necessarily thought through how you were going to tell me that, because I think you just kind of said it like, hey, by the way, I think we're going to be moving to South Florida. And yeah, for me, that was, I was like, nope, that's because I'm a big planner. So I'm like, nope, that's not in the plans. That's not where we're going. We're going to stay here in Arkansas. And, but it's cool how, when I remember, we were going to come down here just to talk to the team and see what God had. And I remember the minute I stepped off the plane, I knew. It's like, you have that feeling, like you were saying, it's like, this is it. This is where we're supposed to be. This is where God's calling us to be. And, of course, I was fighting it a little bit, throughout the trip. But by the time we left, I knew this is where we're supposed to be, and this is where we're going to be happy. So here we are, 25 years later.
Well, we moved down here for us, and we didn't know anybody. The kids were all small. Steph had to go back to work because she had, by the time, we had started a church in Arkansas, and then it had grown to the point where she could, she would, as a stay-at-home mom, and so she had to go back to work. We had owned a home in Arkansas. All we could afford here is a mobile home, so we lived in a trailer. Yeah. And my mom lived with us.
Yeah, it was a difficult season on the the front end, the first couple of years. Yeah.
Right, and I came down, because the church was a couple thousand people or so at the time, and it's like, I thought I'm going to come down and do a young adult service, but it really felt like I was coming down to start a church because they didn't have a ton of young adults, and then I ended up doing the parking lot and the other services, so that. But I was happy doing that, and because our thought was we'll come down here, we'll learn, and then we'll go wherever, But Pastor Dan was working with Rick and all that, so it was opportunity. And then Dan decided he's going to leave, and I don't know how long I'd been here, a year or so. Yeah. And then we became the pastor. And we've been here long enough now to watch the church grow and shrink. And,
through grow. all the different seasons. The
whole process, and watch the kids grow up, and that to me is the thing I'm most proud of, is to watch all the kids not only be Christ followers, but be engaged in ministry. Mm-hmm. And at times, that can be challenging because we're all here. Yeah. We're not just involved in ministry, we're involved in ministry here. Yeah. But at the same time, it's a great blessing. And I think it's hopefully a picture to the congregation that, truly raising your kids in church makes a difference. Yeah. A lot of times people think that, once a month or every so often, but you want, that next generation to truly engage and build relationships with one another. So,
yeah. That's good.
That's awesome.
We haven't been here that long. So, what do you think is the most important Is that your child?
I hear a kid, and I think it's our kids.
I'm over here
We don't have any
My
little
heart
kids.
is racing.
I kind of zoned out for a second. That's good because I was like, I hear a cry. Is
Yeah,
my
that's
kid
our
or not?
kid. Super sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Oh, no, we're used to crying babies. We've got 2 around as well.
Yeah,
so.
he's teething really bad, so.
Yes. Oh, we've got grandkids.
Yeah.
But what do you think is, as you're developing a team, what are some of the skills that are needed when it comes to starting something? Because you're starting, there's a facility, there's a history, there's all the structural things that maybe we can provide. And, but people-wise, you're starting with scratch. So what are you looking for?
Yeah, I was just reading it, and so I'm going to look at you and say I'm going to lean on your Bible knowledge real quick because I cannot remember. But when Solomon was preparing to build the temple, God said, I'm going to give you and this guy's name, and I forget his name, but he was that guy that was kind of talented and was gifted in all the different woodworking and dealing with stone. And so really what I look for is a couple guys or girls, if I have 2 or 3 that are extremely kind of a Swiss Army knife, they can do a little bit of everything, but they got that leadership ability. That's kind of a jackknife, like a Swiss Army knife. Like I look for those people. I think 2 is I look for who has people following them around because they already got influence, right?
Yeah.
So if they already have influence, there's always a crowd. They're never eating dinner alone. Like I want them. And this is what I learned the first time I started a church was look for the people with influence already in the community. I had 15 people move all over the country with me to Arizona. And they wanted me to, and I am a pastor, I want to pastor them. But they looked more for like, hey, help me process my move when I'm still trying to process my move and build a church.
Yeah.
So I look for people there with influence. So they have people around. They always have people over for dinner. Like I'm looking for people like that. So I look for that person that can do a little bit of everything, that person with a lot of influence. And I tend to look for young families that want their kids involved. Like I honestly, like I'll just have you guys come up and talk about how to have your kids grow up and still love church. And I'll probably just double it overnight, But I think like those young families, people of influence, like that's what's going to help build the church, right? Because I can only do so much. And so the rest is, hey, I need these people to go out and catch the vision. All I got to do is cast the vision to them and then get them to own it and get them to run it and get them passionate about it. And then the last thing is like, I want community builders. Because if I get people that are like, hey, we're going to dinner, everybody around, let's go grab dinner together. Like those people that are going to build community, because let's be honest, I'm not going to have the best facility in town. I got a great one, I'm blessed. I probably won't have all the resources some of the bigger churches down the road have, but what I will have is great community. Is if we do that, like irresistible community. Christ says they will know you. Or the Bible says they will know you're my disciples by your love for each other. Not how you love the church, how you love each other. So if we can create that irresistible community, people are just going to be a part of it. They're going to be Christian. They're going to want to be a part of it. And so I get really passionate about that. But that's what I look for, and that's who I think we can build on.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the underestimated when people think about ministry. Those who are involved in business and stuff. The biggest difference, in my experience, between the business people within the church and the ministry people within the church is, is ministry team or servant team or volunteers, whatever word you want to use. Because in ministry you have to recruit people.
Yeah.
And most business people hire people. And I'm sure the same is true for any kind of nonprofit where you've got to engage people because it's really hard to, you've got to have those champions. Because like you said, starting out, you're not, at least you're not setting up and tearing down, but you're starting out. Right. So that you're not going to have the best children. You're not going to have the best preschool or student or worship team or, it's just, so it's like, well, what's going to attract them? And there's got to be some aspect of community, of vision.
Yeah.
But then they got to go out and grab people, what I mean? And then that, and that's what makes it unique, is that sense of community and that sense of uniqueness. But because even with the other, if you've got great other things, if there's not champions, it's very difficult to manufacture growth, in that sense. And And a lot of times that's the hardest, most difficult people to find is those who are going to champion a vision, capture their heart. And like you said, finding those folks that have influence and then can buy in to what, or God can stir their heart for what you're doing.
Yeah. So before we moved down here, I sent out a list of questions to neighbors, family, random people, and said, hey, like, what do you think like our city needs? Like, what is like one thing like your family is missing? And one of the common themes was community. Mm-hmm. They say community and purpose. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, how can I speak to that? Like speak to that felt need. And if you're in the business world, think, how can I market to that felt need, right? Like I'm trying to sell them a car, but how do I get this car to speak to community and purpose, right? And so like, I'm like, man, if we can find a way to speak to that, we know they need Jesus, but they might not think they need Jesus. They may just think they need community. Well, we can get them in community and point them to Jesus. Yeah. And so I think that's something we're going to lean on, ask me again in a year. I mean, it's like, just forget everything I said.
But it may totally change.
Yes,
yeah, that's good. That's good.
And and that's the, I think so much of the world has changed with social media, because the comparison and the community and all of that there's all of this you have to deal with that in the past you didn't have to deal with. And it's like, how do you leverage that to do what you're doing? It used to be if you had a website that was good. Well, now if you're not actively involved in social media, I mean, they're going to go there first. And if you look dead, then you never get the opportunity to experience the live and trying to figure out, like I know the businesses that were late to online as far as ordering and struggled. And so you think from a ministry perspective, what role does it play?
Yeah.
How much community can you build online and what is real and what is not? And to me, those are some of the greater challenges, because if they're in the house in whatever capacity groups or whatever, once every 6 weeks, and then they attend online 2 or 3 times. So they feel like they're apart, but they're really not connected.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you fix that? Because then when somebody dies or somebody, they're not in a real, they're in a community based upon their needs.
Yeah.
Where real community is not only my need, but I'm also here for your need.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we all have we need that, but there's a commitment that's involved in experiencing that. Yeah. And it used to, like I said, I think, and maybe you've got it figured out, but and maybe some of the folks watching do, and we'd love to hear if you do, because it used to be really, you could only get that by connect. In other words, the technology was at the place that maybe some things existed, but you couldn't have any sense of real community, right? If you wanted a friend, you were going to go to Starbucks, you were going to go to church, you were going to play sports, you were going to have to do something with people. So with church, you were just competing with those things, where today you've got all this out here, that now you're competing with, or leveraging I'll be glad when you figure that out.
Well, I don't. I wish I could. But I do think I don't know how to speak to it and get people to engage, right? But I remember I had this friend, and he was a social media influencer and a lot of followers and all this. And he sat down and was like, hey, I need you to be my pastor. I got this and this going on. Like, everybody thinks they know me, but they don't know me. And I think that's the challenge. Like, how do we break through that barrier of like social media and like even like being online? People think they know you.
Right.
But real community is when they really know you. But how do you get them to break that barrier? I think that's a great new series for you to teach on. Give us all the wisdom that I can just take with me. But I think that is the challenge, like breaking past that barrier. I met with a pastor, and he told me this. He goes, he believes in South Florida there's a higher outer wall and a lower inner wall. Mm-hmm. He said, like, people in South Florida are going to be a little more hesitant to like let you in. Mm-hmm. But once they let you in, he's like, it's easier to share Jesus with them because the inner wall is a little lower. He goes, in Pensacola, up in the Bible Belt, like everybody, like, I'll invite you in. I'll show you my closet, my bath. I'll show you everything. They'll invite you in. but that inner wall is higher. Like, I don't really need Jesus because I grew up here. Like, my parents were Christians, and so how do you break those walls and get people to say, hey, what that isn't real community. You need more. And I don't know. So I'm going to let you teach me.
Yeah. I think in our lives, right, pain has something to do with that. When you're hurting, a website's not enough.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing if I go online looking to replace some kind of religious experience so I don't feel guilty, as opposed to having a real need, and when people have real needs, they need real answers.
Yeah.
And, I think it's difficult to be, but important to be the church that's willing to be patient enough for people to go through that experience. Because you can't force it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people's needs come when people's needs come. And no matter how effective or whatever that social media is, at the end of the day, the website they go to, the social media, whatever it is that they're doing, even AI, it's not gonna, when you're hurting, sometimes you just need somebody to sit with you.
Yeah.
You just need presence.
And so you have to be patient. And I think that's always hard to do. You want to succeed, you want to, and everybody wants to say none of the things that we count actually matters, but there's always that wrestling between, am I winning? Am I losing? All those kind of things. And being patient enough to say, I'm going to truly reach this community.
Yeah.
Not just, I'm going to do whatever, nothing wrong with getting a crowd and doing all that kind of stuff as well, hopefully drawing them in. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, how do you truly see transformation, real, and I think only then do you know when you're gone. It's kind of like with your kids, right? I mean, you can get your kids to do what you want them to do while you're present. But if you can impact who they become, then that impacts who they are when you're not around.
That's good.
When they go off to college or when whatever happens. And anyways, we shall see what happens. But I'm excited. We're glad you guys are here in South Florida, as long as you are.
Yeah.
We're thankful for the impact you're having at Cooper City, and we're excited about what's going to go on in Pensacola, and honored to get to be a part of it.
Yeah, we are.
Well, thank y'all for giving us a chance and believe in us. It means the world.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we'll do really, really good. Because I guess it's your first real, so you're gonna
Ministry. Yeah.
if we get to be a part of setting your expectations of what the
Please
future's
help me.
supposed to be.
Tips and tricks, guys.
We want that to be a positive.
Oh, yeah, we do. Positive
life.
experience. Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And I want to encourage you, if you've never checked out, a church in your area, there's always lots of ideas of what a church is and religion. And we tend to think of it, as tying us up and keeping us from what life is really about, when in reality, it's just the opposite. That so much of what you're looking for, is found in, I believe, Christ, but in community. Community's his idea. The church was his idea. And I think it's because we need one another. I heard Nancy Beach say a long time ago, one is too small a number for greatness. And we're tempted to do it alone. And you don't have to go very far before you realize you can't. And not even if you could, it's not a whole lot of fun. So if you've never, given church a chance, or maybe it's been a long time, maybe step out there, and you might be surprised at who you meet, and you might be surprised at how much God cares about what you're doing, and how much he wants to partner with you as you pursue your potential. Don't forget, I did write a book called Potential.
You did. An awesome book, by the way.
It's an amazing book.
Yeah, bestseller book.
Yes,
yeah.
It is a bestseller book. I forget what type of bestseller,
but it was on a list.
It was on a list. It made a list. And you can pick it up. You can go to Amazon.com.
And even a workbook that goes along with it.
That's right. There is a workbook that just came out. So anyways, exciting times. Don't forget, we do a live stream every Sunday at 7 in the month of July. If you're catching this, we are on Instagram, but go to YouTube and not only see all the content that we call podcast, There are lots of different teachings. If you want to see the weekend teachings, you can always go to potentialchurch.com, where all the different teachings is going to be there. Actually, be one of our guests next week. Is it next week? Yeah, next week. It'll be up online if you want to see if he's any good at all. And you can put in the comments, do you think he's going to make it or not make it? We'll be here next Thursday because we drop a new one every Thursday, 365 days a year. We are your most faithful podcast partners. God bless, and we'll see you next time on the Troy Gramling Podcast. Oh, don't forget, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe, because the algorithm is king, and it will help us get in front of more people to partner with them so they can reach their potential as well. See you next time. Wait, before you go, if you're enjoying our content, check out this interview or this one here. They're both really good. And don't forget, subscribe. It's really important. We'll see you next time.